Hello, I am Divya Chauhan from Gender Studies Department and I am going to present my term paper titled as Women Forgotten in History, and I am focusing on Savitri by Phule. So when we discuss about Indian feminists, women who are the icons from history, only a few names come up because we don't know about women in history, as they were conveniently sidelined by the men who majorly wrote history and had power in their hands. Therefore, women remained unknown and uncited. But when we look into our history deeply, we see women who have worked so hard towards empowering other women by fighting against a lot of social evils that we once had in our society, like women's education, caste division. And we see how male reformers are hailed and written about, but women largely remain obscured from history until much later. However, I would discuss one name, Savitri Bai Phule, who remained largely absent from mainstream feminist discourse for a very long time. Starting with who was Savitri Bai Phule. So Savitri Bai Phule was born on 3rd January 1831, and she is known as a social reformer of 19th century. She was in Maharashtra, like whatever she did was in Maharashtra and specifically Pune. She's credited with the title of first female teacher of India, and she opened the first school for girls, which was named as Indigenous Library. For the same, she received a lot of backlash from both upper caste Hindus and Muslims because they opposed the idea of universal access to education, which Savitri Bai Phule was fighting for. And as we know that education earlier was a privilege only for men, and Savitri Bai Phule was working for something everyone opposed at that time. She was also a very radical Marathi poet. As in India, traditionally it is said that a woman is either someone's daughter, sister, wife, or mother, demonstrating the various stages of her life, but also points out that there's the absence of female agency. In fact, it is an idea that is often considered foreign and importing, diluting its importance in leading a healthy life and women to have her own identity. Savitri Bai Phule was one of the first published women in modern India and was able to develop her own voice and agency at a time when women of all classes were still treated as less than human. Savitri Bai Phule majorly worked for women's education, for abolishing traditional caste systems and rituals along with it. For example, she worked for betterment of widows. Therefore, in this paper, I will elaborate on the field of education, caste system, and the work she did for widows. So first, with education, there are few lines that she wrote in one of her poems from the collection of Kavya Phule. If you have no knowledge, have no education, and you yearn not the same, and possess intellect but walk not on the same, how then can you be called a human being? So as clearly mentioned that she was the first woman who started teaching in Pune, and as she opposed the traditional norms practiced in the society, therefore, no one was ready to teach in the school. Like when she was recruiting other teachers, nobody was ready to do the same because they didn't want to be opposed by the larger society. Hence, Savitri Bai Phule was the only teacher initially who taught in that school. And she also started schools for children from the Mang and Mahar castes who were regarded as untouchables, and because she aimed for universal education for all genders and caste, because she believed that education was a way to lead an individual life and could give agency to the ones in need. Therefore, in order to raise her voice about her opinions and to make it reach the masses, she wrote poems in her native language. There are two collections of her poem, one named Kavya Phule and the other Bhavan Kashi Subodh Ratnakar, and they are the compilations and turned into books. These poems give away a very strong idea of her beliefs and tell us why she was the pioneer of the work she did and needs to be known about. While talking about caste system and widowhood, I would like to quote Shamila Reggae that she states that the idea of difference is incomplete without taking the caste difference into consideration. So, when at a time when caste system was embedded in Indian society, she fought against the practice of caste system. She wanted to educate women from the lower caste and also support intercaste marriages. She, along with her husband, started the Satya Shodhak Samaj, which used to organize marriages without a priest and dowry. Apart from being the teacher, she was also the first, the leader of the first women movement in India for widows. Because, like in 1892, she formed a Mahila Seva Mandal, which was dedicated to the welfare of widows in Pune. To understand how it is related to intellectual history, so as intellectual history is the history of ideas, it cannot be without the humans who created or discussed the ideas. Therefore, Savitri Bai Phule is one such feminist icon who created the idea of universal education, that is, women along with men and from all caste backgrounds should attend schools to get education. She wrote poems in her mother tongue, which was Marathi. The poems show she was stressing on the importance of education and English in 1850s, when the idea of universal education wasn't appreciated, rather was not even considered. Caste and gender-based segregation form the basis of marginalized narratives in the post-colonial academic imagination. And very little literary investigation has been conducted on the plight of socially and politically deprived women folk in Indian society. Therefore, this paper looks at the imagination, trying to connect it with the society that is today. To conclude, as women's emancipation has never been easy, it is because of these prominent personalities that today we get to attain education so easily, who simply refused to bow down to social evils and made their ways. Therefore, to take ahead of this discourse, we need to know about these women, which was the attempt I did through this paper. As secularism is an essential ingredient of any movement for change and social justice, the battle can succeed only if women of all castes and religions are educated. And Savitri Bai Phule remained committed to this belief all her life and incessantly battled the anti-women forces. Through this paper, one thing that I can say is that Indian society earlier did not take women seriously as intellectuals for academic reading and writing. Gladly it is changing, but it is because of the women who worked and became the torchbearers of feminism that today we have the privilege that we share.